So today we want to tell you how to migrate to Atlassian Cloud without messing up with the release process. It's really important when you have in mind that cloud is the future, and there is plenty of organizations who are in the process of migration or plan to do this, or a little bit later, but still this is in a plan of huge amount of the organization. You can use the chat and put the question you have to the content we are presenting. We will try to answer all of them at the end of the presentation. I hope there will be a time to answer all of that. If not, then we will find out other way for that. So we are representing Divinity. Divinity is a marketplace partner, both of solution partner, which means that we are providing comprehensive set of solutions for customers, starting from providing the Atlassian licenses for professional services until producing marketplace apps, which all of you can buy on the marketplace. We are more than 300 people company, 18 years in the ecosystem already, and conducted more than 50 migrations, and it's rising. We are still doing more and more almost every week or every month. My name is Katarzyna Dorożkowska. I'm head of Atlassian Services, and today with me it's Simon.
Hello, my name is Szymon Szerewicz. I'm Atlassian DevOps team leader at Divinity, and my team is mostly responsible for cloud migrations, upgrades, installation of new instances of Atlassian Stack, and all what happened on the background of that Atlassian Stack.
Thank you, Szymon. So just a last quick information. There is a bonus for you, so please stay until the end of the webinar to get familiar what we are offering to you today. And let's move forward to the agenda. What we want to talk to you about today. First of all, we will focus on the pre-migration cleanup, what it's for, then keeping everyone in the loop, setting the done rule for key part of the releases, which will be really important. And then we'll focus on choosing the right migration model and the timeline which we should plan to avoid any delays, and everything which going live after the migration or after the production migration, so the moment when the cloud is live. So first, I have one question to you. Maybe it will be easier for us to adjust a little bit the content. Are you moving to the cloud right now or thinking about that? If yes, why? Or if not, what is stopping you? Because we know that there are plenty of people who are saying they cannot move to the cloud, but let's see what we get on the chat from you. I hope you will want to share with us at least a few words around that. Okay, perfect. So at least one person who is planning technical limitations. So we want to stay on this. Perfect. Okay, AI features for us also. This is something we are thinking about. Okay, so please write what you are writing, and we will move to the content we have provided for you for today. And last one, really important information. We have created the Knowledge Hub, and you will get the access to it after the webinar. So the email with that will land on your email box just after the webinar. And there is also one more webinar around the project migration, how to think about the project. And there is also already a recording. And so let's start with the content for today.
Okay, so what does actually mean to us to migrate without any disruption of your releases? It means that your ability to plan, build, test, and deploy software stays attached, not just after the migration, but of course also during that process and before. And here's what that look in the practice. So your sprint stays on the track, no delays, no missed comments. Your tooling, CI/CD tooling like Bitbucket, Jenkins, but of course also Jira, Confluence, and other pipelines all stay fully functional and connected. Core development activities keep following without any interruptions. Quality and compliance take care of it. Collaboration across dev, QA, and other teams remains smoothly, and any downtime for users is minimal and planned and clearly communicated for your team or customers. So how we can actually achieve that? We can go through the next slides and check it out. can do that. Okay, we've got a first section is about pre-migration cleanup. We can't emphasize this is enough. Cleanup is absolutely critical before you can migrate. Why? First, it reduces migration downtime and complexity. Second, it prevents a flood of post-migration issues. And third, it sets your cloud instance up for long-term performance. And here we've got also two important things like clean start is critical, because think of it like moving to a new house. You won't pack up your old junk, broken furniture to your new home, new space. So the same goes with Jira. Cleanups helps you to migrate only what is useful, usable, and in good shape. So we can go further.
Yeah.
And here we've got slides with two tables. Here we've got practical breakdown of cleanup, how it actually looks like. You can go back to that slides after the webinar and keep it deeply. But think of this as your pre-migration checklist, focused how to removing your clutter, fixing broken configurations, and getting your instance to be migration ready. So we can go to the
Yeah, I will just jump in for a second and tell a little bit more about the focus on marketplace apps. We believe that this is one of the most critical part of the pre-migration cleanup, and this is the part when you need to focus on checking, because most of the apps are a little bit different than the cloud in terms of the functionalities of the way of working. Sometimes it's always happened that basic Jira has already implemented the functionalities which in data center was implemented only via marketplace apps. So this is a part where you need to focus and spend a little bit more time just to make sure that what you will find in the cloud after the migration.
Mm-hmm. And not all cleanup tasks are equal. We got three selected here, which are prioritized for us, because you need to standardize your workflows. You need to have complex and custom integrations for you. You need to, as Kasia mentioned, audit your marketplace apps, especially CI/CD tools, because if they fail on the cloud, you cannot go with your releases. And clean up your custom fields to have a better instance with less mess on that. And here we've got an example. We've got one of our clients. That client have over 1,000 projects. During assessment, we tell that client they don't need even a half of them, but they say we need to migrate for now all of them. We don't have time for it. We don't have time for cleanups. And after the migration, after 1 year, they still have that a lot of mess. They have a problem with configurations because they have a lot of duplicated projects, test projects created by someone for no reasons, and they don't have a time for that cleaning. So think about migration not only as migration, but transformation and cleanup of your instance, because you don't want to have that mess on your cloud instances.
Especially if you use data center for years, which we see on a daily basis, then probably there is a lot of things you can improve before moving to the cloud. Okay, so just an example, you will find on our knowledge base the Excel sheet with the pre-migration checkup as a framework you can use before doing this on your own. And let's move to the second section. It's about keeping everyone in the loop. It's for me, it's really important part, maybe because my previous career was connected with the project management, where communication is the key for everything. So let's imagine the project when there is a team who is doing something, but other people don't know or don't understand what they are doing. They can be a lot of miscommunication, misalignment. So let's think about the migration as a project where we need to segment the communication to the specific people. So have in mind that different people have different needs in this area, and they need different information from you during the project, and especially just before the production is going live. So let's adjust the communication to every segment of people you need to have in mind as end users for your instance. We are always thinking that there is a way of communicating with everyone, but not everyone needs to be on a specific meeting. So there is a plenty of way of doing this, like creating the pages, like giving them information on the Slack channel. But still, you need to think, have in mind that it's not only your project if you are doing this by your own, but also for the whole organization. And I can tell you that there is plenty of things you can share with those people, but at the end of the day, it's really important to make sure they are hearing what you are saying. And this is also the moment when I will tell you a little bit more that let's focus on the training on the cloud tool before moving to the cloud. End users can be really lost when.
I think we cannot hear you. I'm just wondering if this is problem on my side, but I think it's.
No, it's not a problem. Can you hear me right now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, perfect. So it was a problem. It was a problem with my microphone, unfortunately. And Simon, when you stopped hearing me, then
maybe 30 seconds ago. So
okay, so guys, I was telling a little bit about the training of the people. I don't know if this was the part which is missing, so I will get back to it for a second. So let's remember that end user, especially if they're not from IT, they feel sometimes lost if they see cloud for the first time. So we can prepare those people for this change and have this in mind by training them before everything is happening with the production migration. Also make sure you are providing those people with the information that you really need and what they need to think about during the first 2 or 3 days after the migration. The great example of that is the migration of our company to the cloud. And by being a solution partner, it would be naturally to say that everything was smooth. But you can imagine that first day after the migration, the amount of the tickets and questions, why is something working like that, where I can find something, was so huge that we didn't even expect that people who are working with the cloud environments on the daily basis can experience something like that, because it was, oh my God, for the first time I see this on my daily basis work, and it's different than it was. So let's have this in mind. Let's prepare the communication plan in advance, and let's adjust it if this will be needed, especially just before and after the production migration. Otherwise, you can experience a high volume of different questions from people just after the production migration, and it's not the best thing which can happen to you. Okay, so you can always get back to this. And right now, let's move to the section 3. So setting the done rule.
I quickly go back to the section 1 with one of the questions. For the rest, we will answer at the end in the QA session. But someone asked, what do you mean about with broken workflows? It means that these workflows have, for example, set up on some actions users which are not longer active. They are disabled, or maybe they have some post functions from the plugins which are not supported on the cloud, or maybe they are different. So we need to fix it on the cloud. We need to know how many of them we will have it and how to fix them. So this is about it. So yeah, going further. Can you go
more tables?
Can you go back to that previous slide, because
yes, I can.
Not that one more. Oh, here.
This one. So,
yes,
okay, the first part of the table.
Yeah, setting done rules. Just because your data is not in the cloud, it doesn't mean you're ready to ship. You need to validate that every release critical tool, every process is still working. You need to know it and end to end. Migrated, it's not mean that you are ready for release. Moving your data is just not one step. So unless your tools, workflows, integrations working properly, your release can still fail. So you need to be worried about it. And here we've got validation checklist. In that checklist, this can help you, and with that you can confirm that every release and critical system and tools will still work after migration. Like, for example, linking with Bitbucket, CI/CD, build tools, triggering, etc. So you can go back after that webinar to that and look at it deeply. And the next tables, we've got these things which often go wrong. You can go to the next slide, Kasia.
Yeah.
When done isn't clearly defined or it's defined too narrowly, it could happen that these tables show you real world examples or of weak of criteria and how they can lead to failed or delayed releases on your instances. But more importantly, we also show you here how to fix those gaps. The key is to connect your done criteria directly to actual releases, not just technical tasks. So this slide is about it, and also you can go see that deeply after the webinar. And here we've got also example of that situation that we've got a client. This client have CI/CD tools, and during the migration, they don't remember, they forgot about one of the important CI/CD tools. And after the migration, it happened that not all of that functionalities is worked. They skipped that, and of course, this postponed of their migration. So this is very important point to remember of all of that.
Okay, so let's land for a moment in the section 4. So choosing the right model for the migration. Just as a quick explanation, we can migrate differently by the lift and shift strategy, where we are taking everything and put it into cloud. We can divide this into phases by people, processes, depends on the company, especially the size of the company. And we can optimize everything. So do upfront a really proper cleanup and then move to the cloud. We still see that there is plenty of customers who are taking the lift and shift strategy and just put everything into the cloud. But let's look at it, just a short check, what is the most important for you. There will be two tables, but I will land on the third one for a moment when we summarize a little bit. So the left and shift will be really fast because you are not doing the whole preparation, and the preparation is the smallest part of the whole project. But on the other hand, it will create then the risk, because there are plenty of things which can go wrong because of the volume of the data. And this is also connected with the example Shimon already mentioned with one of our customers who bring the mess to the cloud and still is living in the mess in their house right now. The slowest option is to divide this into phases. I would even say this improve increase the complexity of the project, because we need to have in mind that there is small chance you can divide the part of the migration and there will be no connections with other part you are migrating in the other moments of time. But on the other hand, the risk is we can lower it during the project. And probably the one which is the most recommended right now is optimize and shift. So let's prepare everything. It won't be maybe really fast, but on the other hand, we decrease the complexity, we decrease the risk, and still we can think about the more stable way of migrating to the cloud. So we have prepared this decision tree model, which you can use. By answering those questions, this is a hint which way you want to go and which way is recommended. Let's make sure you are answering those questions, at least for yourself, just to ensure you are going the proper way. Let's also have in mind that you need to know which way you want to go before you start the project. It's always, maybe it's obvious for most of you, but we see that customers are thinking, okay, let's start and then we see how we'll do this. And this is not the best way, because we need to prepare for the project. And from our experience, the preparation and moment for being ready for the test migration, it's the most important and the widest part of the whole project. And if you will miss something on this part, there is a huge thing. You will be missing something after the production migration. So there is always a space for changing your decision during the project, but the preparations should be adjusted to the strategy you are taking. So there is a plenty of questions you can ask with the recommendation which way you can go. So you can get back to that after the presentation, because there is plenty of things where we think you should be thinking about. And right now, let's land on the timeline of the project.
When it comes to migration timeline, poor planning is the one of the top reasons that project gets delayed, or worse, even that your production migration will fail. So that's why timeline planning isn't just a project time tracking task, but it directly protects you and your releases. Here we've got 4 major points and key elements for that. First of all is realistic assessment. You need to know your data size, user base, and your tricky apps. That defines your true migration scope. You need to have integration of test runs and UATs, run multiple test integration and real UAT with dev, with QA teams to catch these problems and issues early. So you need to good to plan of it. You need to add some strategic buffer days, because always can something going wrong. For example, someone can go on the sick leave, and this is a very important person, so you need to take care of it. And you need to be careful with go live scheduling to avoid any release delays. And next thing is typical migration phases, how it looks like and how it should look like. At the beginning, we should start with assessment, then we go through migration plan when we create a runbook document for Atlassian. Then we go for that preparation phase where we have all of that cleanups and environment preparation. Then we go to the test migration and QA test, business test. And at the end, we can launch our production migration, but also a post-implementation support phase. This is also need to be take care of it. And integration and test runs and UATs, this part is very critical. So you need to run multiple test migration, validate your workflows, apps, and other integration. Then you need to conduct user acceptance tests. In that phase, you need to add all your test teams like QA, devs, leads, and all other staff of your company. And you need to remember to have documentation of every issue and add it to that runbook. And even with the best plan, the things still can go wrong. So it's critical to know where delays usually come from. So in that next 2 slides, you can look at it and show you the most common risk, and you can see in real migration what could happen, what could go going wrong. These things is a part of our playbook, so you can check it and you can go good with staying on the schedule with that. And we've got also example for it, what can going wrong if you don't have good planning. One of our clients needs to delay the migration because they have a detailed migration plan, but they forgot to coordinate the release calendar. So it happened that they have a big production deployment for one of their customers, and this is very important product for them. So they don't coordinate this with one of the teams, and they need to delay this migration. So you need to take care of it and know all of that information from your company before.
Yeah, this is connected with the part around the communication I was covering earlier. So you need to have in mind that this is a project which is influencing mostly the whole company. So that's why it's really important to think about it during the project.
And here we've got example of the timeline. This is timeline for, let's say, medium size of the instance, and 18 weeks before migration, you should take care of complete data cleanup. We need to start weekly migration with your teams. 16 weeks, you should finish the app assessment, communicate all of that downtimes you will prepare during that migration. 12 weeks before, you need to conduct your full test migration. Start with that. You need to have dev and QA team for the testing and address any issues that found during that moment. 2 weeks before, you need to freeze any changes on that instance. You cannot provide any new scripts, any new workflows, because you don't want to have this after the cloud migration, because it could happen that a lot of problems will happen that you don't know about some scripts which are not readjusted on the cloud. You need to finalize that runbook for Atlassian and announce for the users the detailed schedule again. 1 day before, you need to be prepared for cutover. You need to have plan for backup and export your server data, and send reminder to users that your application will be offline during that process at this time. Then we've got migration day. You need to schedule this very deeply, one hour by 1 hour. This is very important during test migration, that you know how many time you need during that migration for each process, for each project, for each script adjustment or app adjustment. Then we go to the post-migration phase. Usually it's the same week, takes 2 weeks, and we go to the hypercare. And the next point is that your transformation on the cloud directly.
So this is just a part of the migration. It's, as Shimon said, this is the starting point for adjusting to your new reality. So everything which is happened after the production migration is the starting for transforming into working on the cloud, and especially if you are planning to have more and more features or products which are available only on the cloud, this is the moment when you are starting the play with that, and this is exactly the value of being into cloud. So we are always saying to our customers, let's not think about the migration as an end process, but as the beginning of the huge project which is starting in your organization. Okay, so the last part.
Yes, so go live, it's not a finish line, as we mentioned before. It's actually a start of the most critical phase. Once you're in the cloud, you need to focus shift from migration to stabilization and adoption. Here we've got critical release excellence. At the beginning, we need to redefine responsibilities. Everyone should know their role during go live. We need to minimize post-migration issues. We need to clear ownerships. It means that fewer surprises to fix that go to us. Improve cloud performance. Clean is a very important process that during that part. And then we need to have rollback procedures for prod and sandboxes. Why? Because config that deploys or data issues can still happen. Rollback and app config that or CI/CD version. This is a types of that. And action, what we should go through this, it's document step, define triggers, and test this configuration in sandbox environments. And you need to know that leveraging sandbox environments for users is testing Atlassian apps and updates. We need to check config changes, or here we need to train our teams. And in best practice for that is mirror our production and go through at the beginning dev, then on UAT, and at the end of the prod. On the next slide, we have 2 tables, part 1 and part 2. In these tables, we have information what team we need to have during the migration. Once you live in the cloud, success it depends on clearly optional ownership. So these tables show you who owns what and how to measure if everything is working. From Jira admins to DevOps to release managers, everyone needs to have defined their responsibilities and KPIs to keep releasing going smoothly. So if you don't assign these roles clearly, small issues can easily snowball to big ones. So you need to worry about it. And on this picture, we've got this summarize that key operation roles, responsibilities, and KPIs should stay on the tracks from IT teams, DevOps teams, through release managers, cloud governance, and this right metric in place. You can spot issues early and keep your release process healthy. with that. Here we've got critical checks during that post go live window. You can go to that slide in our after our webinar. So the first few days after go live are crucial. So this slide checks and supports have checks and some supports and mechanisms. You have it on that place and go through it.
Okay, so one more table.
Yeah, one more table. Rollbacks. No matter how well you'll plan, you still need to roll back plan just in case. This table outlines what rollback looks like across your core systems, CI/CD, Jira, Bitbucket, and other key apps. It's not just about having a backups, it's about who acts and when if something goes wrong. The more prepared you are here, the faster you can recover without impact of your releases. So this is very important point also here. And for that, we've got also example of that type of in our client environment. A company once completed their cloud migration and they think this was success, but when people comes to work, it happened that CI/CD integration is not working and developers couldn't deploy it. So unfortunately, the rollback plan and sandbox to test potential fixes was not available. They cannot test it. They need to roll back the instance. But they don't have that plan. So they need to fix it and manufacturing this on the live production, and it takes more than 72 hours to fix it. So this is why this point is very important.
Okay, so one more question to you to answer on the chat. If any particular section we were talking about was interesting for you and you want to explore it more deeply, you can leave the comment on the chat. We will then know how to adjust the content for the next webinars for you and on which part we should focus deeply, because sometimes you are the voice and for us and the direction we can choose. So you can leave the comment on the chat, and if you are thinking about the migration and you have in mind any particular question which we cannot cover during the webinar or during the QA, there is an option to use a 2-hour session bonus with us after. You can write me an email, then we will agree on the time for that. And one really important thing, this is not a sales pitch. This is just a support for you, for your project, with the question for the people who are doing this on a daily basis, but not. But we don't want you to feel that you need to buy something during that. So this is a screenshot from our knowledge base. You can get back to it after the webinar, and for sure you will get and follow-up email with the content, and soon there will be also a recording of this presentation with the whole materials we have created for today. So Q&A session, I already see that there is a few things you write to us on chat. We will try to cover them, all of them. Let's see if the time allows us. So how do we determine if an app is used or not? Is there any generic solution applicable for all apps installed in Jira or Confluence?
So for Confluence, it's easier because we've got a feature called macro usage in that application. It's built-in application from Atlassian, so you can check where the macro from specific app is used. If regarding the Jira, it's more complicated because we don't have such a feature. So you can also look at on the database tables regarding that plugins and look at it. But it's not always very useful. You've got also applications like Dr. Pro, which can be helpful at determining what applications used on your instance. And also there is one application from Atlassian. It's also free, but it's I forgot the name of that. So if you can ask us after this.
I believe there is a content about that for our previous webinar. This was something we were talking about, so you will also get more deep information on our knowledge base webinar. Okay, so next question. What is the average speed of migration by ticket by hour? I've noticed 10K by hour.
Yeah, it depends, because it depends if you mean about only issues or attachments, because if you count it with attachments, it could be a lot of more time. Usually we see that we can migrate to 100,000 issues per year, but it depends also what type of that issues are. It's what type connection with the internet you've got. If your server is quite well, or it's quite slow. It depends of Atlassian servers, how they work at this moment. So the best option is to test it on the test environment, migrate these projects one by one, and check how many time you need it. Of course, probably on the weekday it's work a little bit slower than on the weekends, but it's could happen that it will quite different, but not too much.
But yes, this is something we always talking during the test migration. The test migration is also the best moment for checking how long the whole production migration can take, and then divide it into if needed, into separate days, just to make sure everything will go smoothly during the production migration. Okay, next question. Is there something about unused filters?
So for that, you can use external apps, as I mentioned before. For example, Dr. Pro, there is no such a built-in functionality, but when you look at Marketplace app, probably you can find a lot of useful application to manage that problem.
Okay, next question. How to motivate business to migration project? And this is really hard one because people are different. So I know organization when business is the driver for the migration because they know what is waiting for them, what they can achieve by having new products or new functionalities they cannot use on the data center. Still, at least it's important to have people who are owner of the process with you during the migration, because then without them you are not able to check if everything is working properly. So you need to find those people, you need to know those people, and you need to try somehow make you sure that they will be cooperating with you. I know sometimes it's hard, especially if business people are the blocker for the migration and they are saying we are fine what we have right now, we don't need anything else, and we don't have time for cooperating with you. So for that, there is no proper solution, or it's really hard to find something. But I believe that by selling the value of the cloud and what they can achieve, it's much easier to have them with you during the project. Okay, I am going to the next question. Any help to estimate the effort of change management? Also hard question. We have our own estimation how much the communication during the project can take, and it depends on the size of the company, the complexity. At least 15% of the time we will spend on the technical migration, but depends on the organization and the way you want to communicate with people. So I have in mind project when the communication was done with a plenty of people, segmented into different areas with a huge amount of details, and it was much more than 15%, rather 50% of the estimation for the whole project. But still you will be able to assume that when you will create the communication plan specifically to your organization. Okay, what are your suggestions to identify the complete list of external service integrating and interacting with Atlassian services out of our control as admins? As you mentioned, one client missed to consider one Jenkins server as external service integration and had to delay the migration plan. Szymon?
Yep. So at the beginning, the most important is communication with your teams. Like we can just contact at the beginning with most important projects, go with project owners, go through this and ask them what type of integration they used. We need to prepare a good test plan for all of that functionalities they used and go with them with the testing of that. Of course, then we can go lower to other teams and ask them about it also. You can also go with remote and just disable IP for the applications which are trying to connect to your application, and then probably someone comes and tell you that they cannot access to Jira with their CI/CD app because connection is blocked. So if you decide and you have that plan, you've got information about what application are connected to your Jira or Confluence or Bitbucket, you can just add this IP to allow listing on your network. And if something will have for other apps, someone for sure will contact you during that you are disabled these other IP ranges.
Okay, next question. What's the rollback plan on migration date and post-migration period? Just starting up DC instance and make them available.
Okay, so it's more complicated because during the pre-migration checks before migration, you need to do some, for example, database queries, for example, to fix workflows, to fix dashboards, filters. So it's not that easy. You need to have to back up your DC instance before and how to roll back because sometimes you need to put some fixes for filters that will not work on DC. And after this rollback, if you just start it, these filters will not work for the users. So it's more complicated.
Okay, thank you, Szymon. It looks like we have covered all the questions we see on the chat. Thank you for your replies to all our questions. We will get back to your answer and to your suggestions and try to adjust the content for the next sessions. Okay, let me check the slide. So there is information about the email addresses to us. You can always reach out to us in terms of the bonus, in terms of any questions. And I hope you enjoyed being with us for those 53 minutes. Yes, there will be a recording and it will be available soon also in the knowledge base, also with the rest of the webinars we already done in the past. So guys, thank you for today. Okay, and last one question, what's the link to the knowledge base? You will get it just after the webinar. So probably in a few minutes it will land when it will be sent to your email box. Thank you guys for today. Let's have a nice summer weekend and let's stay in touch. And I hope I will see you during the next webinars we are organizing.
Thank you very much. See you.